The control room of Helios 9 was silent. Everyone stared at the massive Vorax ship on the screen. It looked like a giant black beetle with sharp spikes along its sides. Next to their small mining colony, it seemed as big as a mountain. "We need to talk to them," Director Jin Lee said. "Maybe we can explain that this was all a mistake." Observer Krell shook his head. "The Vorax do not care about mistakes. They only care about power." "We have to try," Director Lee insisted. He pressed the communication button. "Supreme Executor Vex, this is Director Jin Lee. We found the beacon by accident. We didn't know what it was or what it meant. We are a peaceful mining colony." The screen flickered, and a face appeared. The Vorax had a head like an insect with large compound eyes and clicking mandibles. Its skin was hard and black, like the shell of a beetle. "Peaceful." Vex's voice was deep and scratchy. "If you are peaceful, then you will give us what we want. The beacon, and all who have seen its contents." Director Lee looked at Hana, Tai, and the others. "No one here is your enemy. The beacon's contents mean nothing to us." Vex's mandibles clicked faster. "Lies. The beacon contains records of our history, records we prefer to keep private." "You mean records of your crimes," Krell said suddenly. Vex's compound eyes shifted to Krell. "Ah, a preserve observer. How unexpected. This changes things." The screen went black. "What does that mean?" Hannah asked. Before Krell could answer, the colony's alarms began to sound again. Dan Yoon looked at his control panel. "They're sending ships down. At least 5 landing crafts heading toward us. They're going to take the beacon by force," Krell said, "and kill anyone who has seen what it contains. We need to evacuate," Director Lee said. "Dan, get everyone to the emergency bunkers. Hana, Ta, get the beacon. We need to hide it." As people ran to follow orders, Hana and Tai rushed to the lab. The beacon was still floating in its containment field, its red light blinking steadily. "What do we do with it?" Tai asked. Hana looked at the device. "We need to send a message, a real one this time." She began typing on the lab computer, connecting it to the beacon. "I'm going to send Earth's coordinates and a warning about the Vorax. Will it work? I don't know, but someone might hear it." Outside, they heard explosions. The Vorax had landed. Krell rushed into the lab. "We must go. Now. The Vorax troops are inside the colony." Hana finished typing. "Done. I've sent the message." She grabbed the beacon, which felt warm in her hands. The 3 of them ran from the lab toward the mining tunnels, the deepest and safest place in the colony. They met Director Lee and Dan on the way. Dan was holding a mining laser, converted into a weapon. "Most of our people are safe in the bunkers," Director Lee said. "But the Vorax are rounding up anyone they find." From around a corner, they heard heavy footsteps. Then voices speaking in a harsh, clicking language. "This way," Dan whispered, pointing to a service tunnel. "It leads to the main mining shaft." They ran as quietly as they could, but the Vorax were close behind. As they reached the mining elevator, Dan turned back. "I'll hold them off," he said. "Get to the lower levels." "Dan, no." Director Lee started. "Go." Dan pushed them into the elevator and hit the down button. As the doors closed, they saw him turn to face the tunnel, laser raised. The elevator dropped fast into the darkness of the planet. Hana held the beacon tight against her chest. Its red light pulsed like a heartbeat. "What now?" she asked. "We hide," said Krell, "and hope your message was heard." Far above them, the Vorax were taking control of Helios 9. And in the deep darkness of space, Hana's desperate message was racing toward Earth. 3 days passed since Hana activated the strange device. The science team had moved it to the main research lab of Helios 9, but no one could make it stop sending its signal. The red light kept blinking, calling out to the stars. Hana couldn't sleep. When she closed her eyes, She saw the scared alien faces from the hologram. She felt responsible for whatever might happen next. On the morning of the fourth day, all screens in the colony suddenly went blank. Then a message appeared. Incoming transmission. Director Jin Lee called everyone to the main hall. 200 people gathered, all the miners and scientists of the small Korean colony. They watched the large screen at the front of the room, waiting. The screen flickered, and then they saw it, an alien face. It had gray skin, 4 eyes, and no visible mouth. The room went completely silent. "I am Observer Krell of the Galactic Preservation Alliance," said the alien in a strange mechanical voice. "I come in response to the beacon of suffering. I must speak with those who activated it." Director Lee stepped forward. "This is Director Jin Lee of the Helios 9 mining colony. We found the beacon by accident. We didn't know what it was." The alien's 4 eyes blinked one after another. "This is unexpected. I will arrive at your location in 6 hours. Prepare for my shuttle." The screen went dark. "What does it want?" someone asked. "I don't know," said Director Lee. "But Hana, Ta, you two will meet with me. And this, Observer Krell. You found the device. You should be there." 6 hours later, they stood at the landing pad as a small ship broke through the clouds. It was smooth and silver, making no sound as it landed. The door opened, and Observer Krell stepped out. He was tall, at least 7 feet, and wore metal armor that seemed to move like liquid. His 4 eyes took in everything at once. "Take me to the beacon," he said. In the lab, Krell examined the device without touching it. "This is very old," he said, "made by the Talarians before they were destroyed. It was designed to call for help against the Vorac's dominion." "The what?" Tai asked. "The Vorac's," said Krell, "a species that enslaved half the galaxy 50,000 years ago. The images you saw were records of their crimes." Hannah felt cold. "And the beacon calls them." "No," said Krell. "It calls for help against them. It marks the sender as a victim of the Vorac's, asking for rescue." "But we're not victims," said Director Lee. "We didn't even know about these Vorac's until now." Krell's armor rippled. "You activated the beacon by accident." Before anyone could answer, a loud alarm blared throughout the colony. The head of security, Dan Yoon, rushed into the lab. "Director, something just appeared in orbit. It's huge." They ran to the control room. On the main screen, they saw it, a massive ship that looked like a giant black beetle. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. "The Vorac's," whispered Krell. His 4 eyes had gone wide. "They were supposed to be gone, imprisoned. How? What do they want?" asked Director Lee. "The beacon," said Krell, "and anyone who knows about it. The beacon contains records of their crimes. They will destroy it, and this colony, to keep their past hidden." "But that's crazy," said Ta. "We're not a threat to them." "It doesn't matter," said Krell. "The Vorac's show no mercy. They never have." The communication system crackled. A harsh voice filled the room. "Attention, human colony. This is Supreme Executor Vex of the Vorac's Dominion. You have something that belongs to us. Surrender the beacon and all who have seen its contents, or we will destroy your entire settlement." Hannah looked at the others. Fear was on every face. The Vorac's had come, and they had brought death with them. The dirt fell from the strange metal object as Hannah Kim brushed it away. She had been digging in the mines of Helios 9 for 8 hours now, but this was the first interesting thing she had found. "Ta, come look at this," she called to her friend and fellow engineer. Ta Park rushed over, his helmet light bobbing in the darkness of the tunnel. He crouched next to Hannah and stared at the object. "What is it?" he asked, reaching out to touch the smooth metal surface. "I don't know," Hannah said, "but it's not from our mining company. Look at these marks. They look like writing." The object was about the size of Hannah's hand and shaped like a disc. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing faintly blue when touched. "We should tell Director Lee," Ta said, his voice serious. "Remember the rules. Find something strange, report it right away." Hannah nodded but didn't move. The symbols on the device seemed to call to her. One symbol in particular stood out. It looked like a hand with a broken chain. "I just want to look at it a bit more," she said. Their radios crackled. "Team 5, what's your status?" Director Jin Lee's voice cut through the static. Tug grabbed his radio. "We're fine, Director. But Hannah found something strange in Section 12B, some kind of metal device with symbols on it." "Don't touch it," Director Lee said firmly. "I'm sending a science team down. Stay where you are." Ta put the radio away and looked at Hannah. She was still studying the device, her fingers tracing the strange symbols. "Did you hear that? We shouldn't touch it," Ta warned. "I'm just looking," Hannah said. But her fingers pressed deeper into the symbol of the hand with the broken chain. Suddenly, the device hummed to life. The blue glow spread across its surface, and the symbols began to shift and change. "What did you do?" Tai asked, backing away. "Nothing. I just touched it," Hannah said, but she knew she should have listened to Ta. The device rose into the air, hovering between them. A beam of light shot out from its center, creating a hologram that filled the tunnel. Strange alien faces appeared, speaking in a language neither of them understood. The aliens looked scared, their eyes wide with fear. "It's some kind of message," Hannah whispered. The hologram changed, showing terrible scenes. Aliens in chains, massive ships destroying planets, and creatures that looked like giant insects taking slaves. The images were clear even if the words were not. These were records of war, slavery, and destruction. Then the device pulsed 3 times, sending out waves of energy that made Hannah's teeth hurt. The hologram vanished, but the device continued to hover, now blinking with a steady red light. "I think," Ta said slowly, "I think you just activated it." "Activated what?" Hannah asked, her voice shaking. "A beacon," said Director Lee, who had arrived without them noticing. His face was pale as he stared at the floating device. "You just sent a signal to someone, or something." "Who?" Hannah asked. "I don't know," Director Lee said. "But based on those images, you either called for help, or you just told the worst monsters in the galaxy where to find us." The 3 of them stared at the blinking device. In the darkness of the mine, the red light pulsed like a heartbeat, sending its message far beyond their small colony, beyond their solar system, into the vast emptiness of space. None of them knew that the signal was already being received. In the darkness between stars, something ancient was waking up, something that had been waiting for this call for thousands of years. And it was coming to Helios 9. Admiral Sung Lee sat in his office at Earth Defense Command. He was looking at reports when his computer screen suddenly flashed red. A message appeared. "Emergency signal from Helios 9. He tapped the screen. A broken message began to play. "This is Hannah Kim, Helios 9 mining colony. Under attack. Alien species called the Orcs. Extremely dangerous. They enslave, destroy. Please send help." The message cut off, but attached to it were strange images, the same ones from the beacon. Admiral Lee saw scenes of planets burning and people in chains. He immediately called an emergency meeting of the World Security Council. 12 faces appeared on his screen. The leaders who controlled Earth's defense forces. "We have received a distress call from the Helios 9 colony," Admiral Lee said. "They are under attack by an alien species." "Are you certain?" asked Council Leader Mira Park. "Perhaps it's a mistake or a joke." Admiral Lee played the message. When it ended, the council members looked worried. "How far is Helios 9? asked another council member. 3 weeks at maximum speed," Admiral Lee replied. "But we must send help now." "What do you suggest?" asked Mira Park. Admiral Lee stood straight. I suggest we deploy the 7th Fleet. There was silence. The 7th Fleet was Earth's newest and most powerful fighting force. 15 warships with weapons that used technology from crashed alien ships found on Mars 50 years ago. They had never been used in real combat. "The 7th Fleet is untested," said a council member. "And we don't know anything about these Voraks. We should gather more information first." "By then it will be too late," Admiral Lee said firmly. "The Helios 9 colony has 500 people. Our people. We cannot abandon them." Mirapark thought for a moment. "Very well. Deploy the 7th Fleet, Admiral. But be careful. We don't want to start a war we cannot win." Admiral Lee nodded. "Yes, Council Leader." Within hours, the 7th Fleet was preparing to leave Earth's orbit. Admiral Lee stood on the bridge of the flagship Vengeance, watching as the other 14 ships moved into position. The Vengeance was the most powerful warship humans had ever built. It was nearly a mile long with weapons that could destroy a small moon. Its hull was made of a special metal that could repair itself if damaged. Captain Ji-ho came to stand beside Admiral Lee. "All ships report ready. Admiral, we can leave when you give the order." Admiral Lee looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, the people of Helios 9 were fighting for their lives against an enemy they didn't understand. "Before we go," Admiral Lee said, "I want to address the fleet." He pressed a button on the command console. His voice would now be heard on all 15 ships. "Men and women of the 7th Fleet, today we face something no human has faced before. An alien threat that has attacked our people. We do not know how strong they are or why they have attacked us. But we know this: we will not let them harm our people without facing the full power of Earth." He paused, looking around at his crew. "The journey to Helios 9 will take 3 weeks. Use that time well. Train. Prepare. When we arrive, we will face an enemy unlike any we have seen before. But remember this: they have never faced humans before either. And they will learn why that was a mistake." He ended the transmission and turned to Captain G. "Take us out, Captain. Maximum speed to Helios 9. The massive engines of the Vengeance came to life. One by one, the ships of the 7th Fleet jumped to faster than light speed, disappearing in flashes of blue light. Earth had answered the call, and it was sending the most lethal fleet in human history. Deep in the mining tunnels of Helios 9, Hana, Ta, Director Lee, and Observer Krell had set up a small base. They had been hiding for 2 weeks. There were about 50 colonists with them now, people who had escaped the Vorak soldiers and found their way to the tunnels. "Our food will last another week," Ta said, checking their supplies. After that, we fight harder," Hannah said. She had changed in the past 2 weeks. The quiet engineer was now leading raids against the Voraks. Director Lee nodded. "Hannah is right. We can't give up hope. Earth may have gotten our message." Krell sat in the corner, watching them. He seemed puzzled by how the humans refused to surrender. "The Voraks control the colony," he said. "They have weapons that can melt these tunnels. Yet you keep fighting. Why?" "Because they're bullies," Hannah said simply. "And my mother taught me never to give in to bullies." Krell's 4 eyes blinked one after another. "Interesting." Hannah stood up. "Ta and I are going on another raid tonight. We need to learn more about the Voraks, about why they're so afraid of anyone seeing what's on the beacon." Later that night, Hannah and Ta crept through the service tunnels that led to the main colony. They wore dirty mining suits and carried tools that they had turned into weapons. "The control room is our best bet," Hannah whispered. "If we can get to their computers, maybe we can learn something useful." They waited until the Voraks guards changed shifts, then slipped into the main building. The colony looked different now. The Voraks had put up strange black metal panels on the walls. The air smelled like rotten eggs. They reached the control room and found it empty. The Voraks had set up their own computer system. It had a screen that showed strange symbols, the same kind that were on the beacon. Can you read this? Ty asked. No, but I can copy it, Hannah said. She took out a small device and connected it to the Vorax computer. This will take a few minutes. While the data copied, Todd looked at the other screens. One showed a map of the galaxy with a red dot blinking. Look at this, he said. I think that's us. Helios 9. But what are these other marks? The map showed hundreds of red X marks across the galaxy. Maybe places the Vorax have attacked, Hannah guessed. Suddenly, a new screen lit up. It showed images that made Hannah and Ta freeze. The images showed Vorax ships being destroyed by strange weapons, Vorax soldiers running from something, and then a picture of tall beings with stern faces. Who are they? Ta whispered. Hannah's device beeped. It had finished copying the data. She quickly disconnected it. We need to go, she said. Now. They heard heavy footsteps in the hallway. Vorax guards were coming. They slipped out another door just in time and made their way back to the tunnels. When they returned to their base, they showed the data to Krell. As he looked at it, his 4 eyes widened. This is impossible, he said. What is it? Director Lee asked. The Vorax weren't just defeated 50,000 years ago, Krell said. They were imprisoned by a species known as the Guardians. Who were these Guardians? Hannah asked. A powerful race that protected weaker species, Krell said. The Vorax feared them more than anything. The Guardians could have destroyed the Vorax completely, but instead they locked them away on a prison planet. Then how did they escape? Ty asked. That is the question, Krell said. But there's something else you should know. He pointed to the images of the tall beings. The Guardians, their genetic pattern is remarkably similar to yours. To humans, Director Lee asked, shocked. Yes, said Krell. In fact, based on these readings, he paused, his 4 eyes focusing on them. The Guardians that the Vorax fear so much. They're your ancestors. Humans are descendants of the Guardians. 3 weeks after leaving Earth, the 7th Fleet arrived at the edge of the Helios system. Admiral Sung Lee stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, looking at the display screen. 5 large Vorax ships surrounded the small planet of Helios 9. Activate stealth systems, Admiral Lee ordered. I want to see what we're dealing with before they see us. Captain G nodded. Yes, Admiral. The 7th Fleet ships had special technology that made them nearly invisible to most sensors. They spread out in a wide circle around the system, watching the Vorax ships. Report, Admiral Lee said to his team. The science officer, Yuma, studied her screens. 5 Vorax capital ships. Each one is heavily armed. They've set up a blockade around the planet. No ships can get in or out. What about our people? Admiral Lee asked. The communications officer, Min Kang, adjusted his headset. I'm picking up Vorax transmissions. They're talking about prisoners. They've captured most of the colony, but some people are hiding in the mines. The Vorax are hunting for them. Admiral Lee's face grew hard. So some of our people are still fighting. He turned to his tactical officer. What do you recommend, Commander Han? Commander Han was a serious woman with short gray hair. She studied the display. The Vorax ships are powerful, but they're not expecting us. If we strike fast, we can disable them before they can respond. Could we try to talk first? Captain G asked. Maybe they would release our people. Admiral Lee shook his head. They attacked without warning. They took our people prisoner. The time for talking is over. He straightened his uniform. Prepare all weapons. Target the 2 ships closest to the planet first. We'll hit them hard and fast. Commander Han nodded. Yes, Admiral. Orders went out to all ships in the fleet. Weapons were charged. Shields raised. Fighters prepared to launch. Admiral Lee looked at his crew. On my mark. Strike. The 7th Fleet dropped out of stealth mode at the same moment. The Vengeance fired first. Bright blue beams of energy that cut through space and hit the first Vorax ship before it could raise its shields. The ship's engines exploded, leaving it dead in space. The rest of the fleet followed, each human ship targeting a Vorax vessel. The second Vorax ship was hit by 3 human cruisers at once. Its hull cracked like an egg, spilling air and bodies into space. The other Vorax ships are raising shields. Yuna called out, "They're returning fire." Red beams shot out from the Vorax ships, hitting the human fleet. But the special hulls of the human ships absorbed most of the damage. "Launch fighters," Admiral Lee ordered. Small, fast ships poured out of the larger human vessels. They swarmed around the Vorax ships like angry bees, firing at weak points. Min Kang suddenly straightened in his chair. "Admiral, I'm intercepting Vorax communications. They're panicking." "Put it on speaker," Admiral Lee said. A harsh, clicking voice filled the bridge. "Unknown fleet attacking. Their weapons, they're too powerful. Wait, these ships, their design. No, it cannot be. The Guardians have returned. Alert the Dominion. The Guardians have returned." Admiral Lee looked confused. "The Guardians? What are they talking about?" "I don't know, sir," Min said, "but they sound scared." On the main screen, a third Vorax ship exploded as human fighters hit its main power core. The 2 remaining Vorax ships were trying to escape, moving away from the planet. "Shall we pursue?" Commander Han asked. Admiral Lee thought for a moment. "No, our first priority is our people on the planet. Let the remaining ships run. They can take a message back to their leaders. Earth protects its own." He turned to Captain G. "Prepare landing ships. Let's go get our people." The 7th Fleet had won its first battle against the Vorax. But on the planet below, Hana and the others were about to learn more about the strange connection between humans and the Guardians that the Vorax feared so much. Hana, Ta, Director Lee, and the other survivors felt the ground shake. They had been hiding in the deep mining tunnels for 3 weeks, and now something was happening above them. "Is it an earthquake?" someone asked. Krell's 4 eyes looked up at the tunnel ceiling. "No, those are explosions. In space." He turned to the humans. "Someone is attacking the Vorax ships." Hope lit up on every face. Director Lee stood up. "It must be Earth. They got our message." They gathered around a small radio they had built from mining parts. Ty adjusted it, trying to pick up signals from above. At first, they heard only static. Then, a clear voice came through. "This is Admiral Sung Lee of the Earth Defense Force 7th Fleet. To all survivors on Helios 9, we have engaged the enemy fleet and are sending down rescue ships. If you can hear this, signal your location." Tears filled Hannah's eyes. Earth had come for them. Ty quickly connected the radio to a power source. "This is Helios 9 mining colony. We hear you, Admiral. There are about 50 of us hiding in the eastern mining complex. The Vorax hold the rest of our people prisoner in the main colony." "Understood," came the reply. "Stay hidden. We're sending down Marines to secure the area." While they waited, Krell pulled Hana, Ty, and Director Lee aside. His 4 eyes were serious. "Before your people arrive, you must understand the full truth," he said. "I've been analyzing the data you took from the Vorax computers. It confirms what I suspected." He showed them a small device with images on it. They saw pictures of tall beings that looked almost human, but with slightly larger heads and eyes that glowed blue. "These are the Guardians," Krell said. "They ruled this part of the galaxy 50,000 years ago. They were powerful but peaceful. When the Vorax began conquering worlds and enslaving species, the Guardians stepped in to stop them. The images changed to show a great battle in space. The Guardians defeated the Vorax," Krell continued. "But instead of destroying them, they showed mercy. They locked the Vorax away on a prison planet with no technology, no way to escape." "Then how did they get free?" Director Lee asked. "That is still unclear," Krell said. "But what is clear is this. He showed them another image, a DNA strand. I've compared Guardian DNA from our records with human DNA. They match at a rate of 99.7%. So we really are descendants of the Guardians? Tai asked, amazed. Yes, said Krell, but something is different about modern humans. He looked troubled. The Guardians were powerful but gentle. They used their strength to protect, not to destroy. They imprisoned the Vorax instead of wiping them out because they believed all life deserved a chance. What are you trying to say? Hannah asked. Before Krell could answer, they heard sounds from the tunnel entrance. Earth Marines in combat armor appeared, weapons ready. We're here to take you home, the lead Marine said. As they were escorted to the surface, they saw the results of the space battle. 2 Vorax ships had crashed on the planet. The others were gone. Earth ships filled the sky. They were taken to a command post where Admiral Lee was directing operations. The Vorax have retreated for now, he told them. We've freed most of the prisoners, but we intercepted messages saying they're calling for reinforcements. Krell stepped forward. Admiral, there is something you must know about humans and why the Vorax fear you. As Krell explained about the Guardians, Admiral Lee's face grew serious. So our ancestors defeated these Vorax before, he said when Krell finished. And now they're back. Yes, said Krell, but there is one crucial difference. He looked at the human Marines with their weapons, at the powerful warships in the sky. Your ancestors showed mercy to the Vorax. When I see how your fleet fought today, I do not think you will show the same restraint. Admiral Lee's eyes narrowed. The Vorax attacked our people. They took prisoners. They showed no mercy. That is exactly my point, said Krell quietly. The Guardians imprisoned the Vorax because they believed in redemption. But you humans, you may not be so forgiving. And that is what truly terrifies the Vorax. 2 days after the Earth fleet's arrival, things were looking better on Helios 9. The colonists were safe. The Vorax prisoners had been locked away. Earth Marines patrolled the colony, keeping watch for any more trouble. Admiral Lee sat with Hannah, Ta, Director Lee, and Krell in the colony's main control room. They were watching the space around their planet carefully. The 2 Vorax ships that escaped will bring back more, Krell warned. The Vorax never give up easily. Admiral Lee nodded. We're ready for them. The 7th Fleet may be small, but our weapons are strong. Hannah wasn't so sure. She had seen the fear in the Vorax soldiers' eyes when they talked about the Guardians. But would that fear be enough? Suddenly, alarms started to sound. Yuma, the science officer, looked up from her screens. Multiple ships coming out of faster-than-light travel, she said. Many ships, at least 30. Everyone rushed to the windows. In the sky above, they could see flashes of light as ships appeared. These new Vorax ships were bigger than the first ones. In the center was a massive ship shaped like a giant black spider. The Eternal Dominion, Krell whispered. The flagship of the Vorax Supreme Armada. Admiral Lee's face was grim. Get back to your ships, he ordered his officers. Prepare for battle. As the Earth officers rushed out, Krell looked at Admiral Lee. Admiral, you have 15 ships. They have 30, and their flagship alone could destroy half your fleet. What would you have me do? Admiral Lee asked. Run away. Leave this colony unprotected. No, said Krell. But perhaps you could talk. Buy time. Admiral Lee thought for a moment. Very well. Open a channel to their flagship. The main screen lit up, showing the face of Supreme Executor Vex. Behind him stood other Vorax leaders, all with their insect eyes fixed on the humans. So, Vex said, his voice cold, the descendants of the Guardians have come to protect their own. How touching. This is Admiral Sun Lee of Earth, Admiral Lee said calmly. Your forces attacked our colony without cause. You took our people prisoner. We responded to protect what is ours. Vex's mandibles clicked rapidly. Without cause. The beacon your people activated holds records of our Past mistakes. Records we prefer to keep buried. You mean records of your crimes, Hannah said, stepping forward. Of worlds you destroyed and people you enslaved. Vex's compound eyes seemed to burn with anger. Brave words from a species that doesn't know its place. Your ancestors showed weakness by sparing us. We have learned from our defeat. We will not repeat their mistake. His voice grew harder. Surrender now, and we will make your extinction painless. Admiral Lee stepped in front of Hannah. We are not the Guardians. We are humanity, and we do not surrender. Vex made a sound like laughter. Then you will die. The screen went dark. Admiral Lee turned to the others. Get to the emergency bunkers. This battle will be rough. As they rushed to follow his orders, they felt the colony shake. The battle had already begun. From the safety of the bunker, they watched on screens as the Earth fleet formed a defensive line around the planet. The Vorax ships came in like a wave, firing red beams of energy. 2 human ships exploded instantly. They're too many, Ta said, his voice shaking. On the screen, they saw the Earth ships beginning to fall back. The Vengeance was fighting hard, its blue weapons cutting through Vorax ships, but for everyone it destroyed, 2 more took its place. Suddenly, Krell's small device began to beep. He looked at it with all 4 eyes wide. Impossible, he whispered. What is it? Hannah asked. Before Krell could answer, the space around the Vorax fleet started to shimmer. Strange circles of light appeared, dozens of them, then hundreds. Jump points, Krell said in awe. Someone is coming. Through each circle of light came a ship. Not human ships, not Vorax ships, but ships of designs none of them had ever seen before. Hundreds of ships of all sizes and shapes, and each one had the same symbol painted on its hull, a hand with a broken chain. The symbol from the beacon. A new voice came over all communication channels. This is Admiral Jun Choi of the Guardian Reclamation Fleet. We received your distress signal, Helios 9. The descendants of those once saved by the Guardians have come to repay their debt. The Guardian Reclamation Fleet wasted no time. Their ships moved with perfect order, surrounding the Vorax fleet. Their weapons fired in unison, beams of golden light that cut through Vorax shields as if they were paper. In the bunker on Helios 9, Hannah, Ta, Director Lee, and Krell watched in wonder as the battle unfolded. Who are they? Hannah asked Krell. The children of the Guardians, Krell said softly. Not by blood, but by debt. Species that were saved when the Guardians defeated the Vorax long ago. On the screens, they saw the Vorax Supreme Armada falling apart. The massive flagship, Eternal Dominion, tried to escape, but 3 Guardian ships caught it in golden beams, holding it in place. A message came through to the colony. This is Admiral Jun Choi requesting permission to land. We have much to discuss. An hour later, Admiral Choi stood in the colony's main hall. He was human, but wore strange armor that seemed to glow from within. With him were beings of different species, some with 4 arms, some with scales, some with blue skin. All wore the same symbol, a hand with a broken chain. Admiral Lee greeted them with respect. We thank you for your help, but I must ask, how did you find us? Admiral Choi smiled. The beacon. It was designed to call for help against the Vorax. We have been waiting for such a signal for thousands of years. He turned to Hannah. You activated it, yes? You have our thanks. Without you, we might never have found Earth. Krell stepped forward. Admiral Choi, I must ask, how is a human leading this fleet? A fair question, Choi said. My ancestors were taken from Earth 500 years ago by explorers from the Reclamation Fleet. They were looking for genetic matches to the Guardians. When they found humans, they knew they had found the descendants of those they had been searching for. Admiral Choi motioned to his companions. For 50,000 years, these species have kept the Guardian legacy alive. They built ships. They trained soldiers. They watched for the Vorax, all while searching for the Guardian homeworld, for Earth. He looked at Admiral Lee. Your ancestors once saved the galaxy from tyranny. They defeated the Voraks, but chose to show mercy. Instead of destroying them, they locked them away. Then how did the Voraks escape? Director Lee asked. Some Guardians disagreed with the decision to spare the Voraks, Choi explained. They believed the Voraks would never change. But most Guardians believed in redemption. In the end, they grew tired of their power. They saw how it corrupted them, how it made them feared. So they chose to leave it all behind. They came to Earth, Hannah said, understanding now. Yes, Choi nodded. They erased their technology, their history, their knowledge. They became simple humans, hoping to start fresh. But they left safeguards, the beacons, to call for help if the Voraks ever returned. Admiral Choi reached into his armor and pulled out a small crystal. It glowed with inner light. He held it out to Admiral Lee. This is a Guardian key. It unlocks the knowledge and technology your ancestors left behind. Hidden bases across your solar system. Ships. Weapons. Your birthright. Admiral Lee hesitated. What would you have us do with this power? That is for you to decide, Choi said. Your ancestors once ruled the stars as guardians. Now humans must choose what kind of guardians they will be. On the Vengeance, Admiral Lee stood at the window, looking out at the stars. In his hand, he held the crystal key. With it, humanity could reclaim the power of their ancestors. They could rule the galaxy again. But at what cost? He made his decision. We will learn from both our past and our present. He told his officers, we will be what our ancestors could not. Guardians with the strength to protect and the wisdom to know when to use it. On Helios 9, Hannah stood with the beacon in her hands. It no longer blinked red. Now it glowed with a steady golden light. She placed it on a stand in the colony's central plaza, not as a call for help, but as a reminder of who they were and what they could become. The most lethal fleet ever assembled now stood ready, not to conquer, but to defend. Led by the species that had once abandoned power for peace, but now embraced both. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not just as the descendants of the Guardians, but as guardians in their own right.